So could each of you share with us, how did you come to the alternative building methods that you're each working with?
So, okay, who's heard of Boxable? Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much. So for those of you who haven't, we're a building technology startup in North Las Vegas. We are 400,000 square feet under a roof. It's a very, very large startup. That's about 9 or 10 acres under a roof. And we've been put on earth to solve the housing crisis. Just a really, really tiny little goal that we set ourselves. And we've been manufacturing about 2 years in our factory. We give tours every day, by the way, walk-ins, and you can book online. And it's really an absolutely fantastic tour, and I encourage everybody to take it. It's very, very colorful, very, very colorful company. What we realized with building construction was that we've had shelter for thousands of years. It predates the wheel probably, but it is currently in a pre-industrial condition. What do I mean by that? Pre-industrial means not built in a factory. Everything that you're wearing, the tables, the chairs, absolutely everything is made in a factory. They even make rockets in a factory today, but not buildings, because buildings are big. So that's the problem. And if you're not in a factory, you can't have scalability, efficiencies. There are factory solutions. They can only ship about 70 miles because they use field construction technologies under a roof, which is not good. Instead of using a factory environment, then they make something illegally wide and you can't ship it more than 70, 80 miles. So most of those factories are a fifth of the size of Boxable because they don't have a scalable solution. What we realized was it had to be built in a factory to take advantage of a modern world. So that's what we've done. The biggest challenge to doing that was making large rooms and a very, very tall 9.5-foot ceiling. So what we've engineered is a building system rather than a house. And with that comes scale. Think of them as giant Legos: stack, connect, cantilever, make anything your heart desires. Pretty much, that's the vision of Boxable. We are here in North Las Vegas. We're a great export for Las Vegas. Again, Boxable has been put on this earth to solve the global housing crisis. If we have our way, we will be able to make homes very, very quickly. Currently, today, we make the Boxable Casita, which is an adorable 400 square foot ADU, which for those of you who don't know is an accessory dwelling unit, very popular in California, and the subject of conversation today, which has been pretty cool. And we can build them at about, we started off, the first one took us 2 years ago. We moved into that factory with 12 people. That first house we built took us a couple of months to make the first one. Not very impressive. Today we make a house about every 4 hours, and the reach goal for the company is to make a house about every 60 seconds, which sounds unbelievable. And right now you're looking at me and saying, who's that guy in the white hat? He's nuts. This doesn't make any sense. But when you think that a Ford F-150 or a Tesla, respectively, are made about every 60 seconds, every 48 seconds, 38 seconds, something like that. That is the power of post-industrial factory production. And that's what we're doing.
What are some of the barriers to getting this scaled up and widespread use?
You have the regulators and government regulation who have a very serious job, which is called public safety. You can't have new buildings that are unsafe. So when you have new building materials, it's a very tough regulatory process, but a necessary one in terms of safety to go through those regulations state by state. To answer the question, why do you want alternative building materials? So it's a three-part question. You need to make the product less expensive, you need to make it faster, and you need to make it higher quality. In addition to that, if you're going to have an alternative building material, it can't just meet the status quo, it has to roundly beat it, because there's an existing infrastructure of users with existing building materials. So you have to make a significant technological advantage. And we are a tech company, we're a technology company. Harking back to what I was saying earlier about the business being pre-industrial, the automotive industry is post-industrial with a national standard. And I think it would behoove our country at the federal level if we could have more descriptive standards in terms of safety. In any case, higher quality, lower cost, maximum speed. We're currently able to ship in 10 states. We're actually not allowed to ship in the state of Nevada yet, so maybe some of our 5 municipal leaders could get with our team and get through that. Yeah, I'm looking at you.
So let's drill a little bit more in this policy space, because a couple of you mentioned some specific policy spaces. But if you were going to ask for help from the people in this room, what would that policy education or even policy advocacy, what would that look like from the perspective of using these different building materials, specifically in a housing or a residential application? What would you ask us to say to legislators?
Speed. Speed. We need speed. Nothing happens at sort of these delinquent time rates. You know, the building departments, if they could keep an open mind, data is very persuasive. And if you show data that's stronger than current systems, I think that should be put to the forefront so that we can achieve the goals of lower cost housing much, much faster. I think tiny house rules are absolutely great. I think it would be great if they were rolled out faster across the state of Nevada. I think it'd be absolutely wonderful. If I can make a self-serving comment for the company, we have, I think, 120 ADUs in stock today. So any municipal leaders want to come and see our team, we'll sell them to you tomorrow.
So where's the mainstream construction and building industry in the conversation in terms of alternative building?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if I can go from the top down, you have field builders, but they're basically land agents. They don't want to be manufacturers. They're manufacturers in an open field, and it's not the way things should be done. They just want to turn land, turn projects, put roofs over people's heads and go on to the next project faster. But they have to literally build an open air factory every time, hire hundreds of workers, and then dispel them to the four winds. And then if there are warranty issues, where's the plumber? Well, he's working in a different state. It's called pre-industrial, which I'm sort of harking on about. One step alternative to that is that there is actually a tremendous amount of creativity in the building industrial space. Another type, of course, is the modular homes, which are factory built. I spoke about those a little bit. They have about a 70 or 100 mile radius because they're too big to ship. That doesn't work. And then just out of a pure cry for help, there's a lot of innovation in the tiny home space, but understand that those tiny homes look good in the pictures, but when they're 8 foot wide with an 8 foot tall ceiling, you're not going to be very happy living in that. What we need is a post-industrial solution, which is factory construction. The boxable product expands, can go down the highway 8 foot wide and triples in size, which makes the costs a third to ship and has repeatability in the factory and customization in the field, which is almost a magic trick to thread that needle. So there's a lot of innovation out there, and I think if the states, especially our state here in Nevada, could be more receptive to alternative ways of building product that is safer, higher quality, I think that would be absolutely fantastic and to the benefit of everybody. And it's not politically left or right. I don't know anybody who doesn't want affordable housing. Actually, on the labor force, you're making an unbelievably wonderful point. Out in the field, it's males. In a factory, you can have a much more diverse workforce. You can have women in the workforce. Absolutely fantastic because it's safe and it's well controlled and it's not a dangerous environment. So very, very interesting point.
Each of you have mentioned sustainability. Are your materials LEED certified? Like that's becoming the standard. Is that even the standard for alternative building materials? And if so, are your products considered LEED certified materials?
We're component-based, so it would have to be the final configuration that gets LEED certified for sustainability. But if I can just talk about sustainability for a moment, because there's a lot of confusion about it. Sustainability, if you look at it a different way, it comes down to cost. It comes down to cost. If you have less cost, it means you're using less material, you're using fewer labor, you're moving energy less. So the least cost is typically the most sustainable. And at Boxable, we are low cost, high quality, maximum speed. So we are sort of ultimately sustainable. We stress about how far one of our staff moves to pick something up and move it over. So, the least number of components, the least number of unique components, remove a part, remove the process, and on with those first principles really can absolutely crush the cost and raise the level of sustainability. And along with that is volume. When you have high volume, you can do all sorts of wonderful things in terms of really raising sustainability and very, very dramatically lowering the cost.
What's the one thing you wish the general public really understood about the alternative building materials with which you're working?
Boxable wants to give the customer custom. The word custom is in their name. We want to give them the configuration they want, the price they want, in the time they want. That's all that matters. What's happening under the hood isn't important to the customer. They just want what they want, and they deserve it because they're the ones paying.
I wanted to know the purpose for your building of the strategy of your houses. How long will it last with the 50 to 100? So if multiple people lived in them and then they moved out, what will you be able to do with it after the fact?
Absolutely great question. So in our lobby, we have a picture of the Colosseum, which is several thousand years old. So we have a forever mentality. But in terms of reusability, there's a lot of waste that goes on in buildings because they last several decades and then they get torn down and a single family home gets replaced with a different type of community. One of the beautiful things about Boxable is they ship, unpack, triple in size, but they can repack decades later. So waste for waste's sake makes no sense. If you can take an older home, pack it up, move it, or you need to expand your home, that's the promise of Boxable. Or if you have empty nesters where the kids have flown the coop, gone to college, left, then you need to lower your tax bill, reduce the size of the home. It's very, very interesting.